Hey everybody, this is BigPapaGrump for the Board of Doom. And yeah, that was WrestleMania. That was nuts, wasn't it? So let's just dive right in. Alright, just real quick on the NXT Takeover. I went 5-0. Yay me. Alright, since none of that mattered. Congratulations to Aleister Black. Congratulations to Shayna Baszler. I know I said her name wrong the entire last video. Hey. And, yeah, so congratulations, Adam Cole. Congratulations, Ricochet. That was MVP of that match. That was just a great match. I'm not going to get too much more into it, so let's dive into WrestleMania. So, starting with the Battle Royal, which was weird because I didn't know it was starting, and all of a sudden there was like a bunch of guys in the ring beating each other up. I was like, hey, there's a thing happening. That was not fun at all. Just dumb. Till the end. I did like the Bray Wyatt thing. I did like, Matt Hardy getting it, because hopefully this will end the whole whoever wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, just fades off and doesn't get the push they deserve. But, putting it on Matt Hardy, who's already well established and is, probably just going to continue with the Woken gimmick. It's probably not going to change anything other than the fact that he's going to say some really funny stuff when he mentions the name of the trophy. Getting to the Cruiserweight match. I wanted Mustafa Ali. I had picked Mustafa Ali, but it makes sense they put it on Cedric. That was a really good match. Kind of saved the pre-show for me because we'll get to the women's battle royal in a second, but yeah, that was a fun match to watch. Those guys just put it all out there, and the ending was cool, and just, again, a lot of fun. Congratulations to Cedric Alexander. Okay, as for the women's battle royal, that was weird. Again, it was more fun than the men's battle royal. Not as many, kind of like with the men's battle royal, there were like no surprise returns except for maybe Bray. With the women's one, you had, Peyton Royce showed up and a bunch of the other ones from NXT. I'm not going to get into all that. So it was nice that they were there, and it kind of added a little bit of surprise to it, because ooh, okay, who could it go to? And then it came down to Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Naomi. Naomi had gone out through the middle rope and then kind of was forgotten about. Bayley eliminated Sasha after they had been helping each other out, and just kind of turned on her and threw her out and thought she won, and then Naomi came out and eliminated her, and so Naomi wins, so congratulations. Naomi's kind of been going nowhere lately anyway, so this can only help her. It certainly isn't going to hurt her. Alright, so the main show opened up with the Intercontinental Championship match between The Miz, Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins came out with like white contacts in, like a White Walker. That was kind of cool. The Miz came out with like a weird Naruto headband on. Okay. And Finn came out, and maybe poor choice of words, because I don't know if Finn came out last night. I mean, or if it was just being just very supportive of Glad. I'm not sure what to make of that. Or maybe, he could have just been, because he's very active with Glad. He could have just been being supportive, or was he telling us something we weren't aware of before? I don't know. Either way, I was pulling for Finn to win. I really was hoping they put the belt on him. They didn't. They put it on Seth Rollins, which is still a good choice because Miz is taking time off. The sequence was neat. Finn didn't eat the pinfall. The Miz did. So, yeah, that was an entertaining match. That one, if we're doing a thumbs up, thumbs down, or whatever, that one gets a thumbs up. So, I did enjoy that one. Then you get to the SmackDown Live Women's Championship match between Charlotte Flair and Asuka. This match never felt like it got into that final gear. It was a good match. It was a lot of fun to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was my match of the night for a while. And Charlotte won. Made Asuka tap clean to end Asuka's streak. I didn't think they were going to pull that trigger. It was a pleasant swerve. I'll give them that, because I didn't want to see either of the women lose, but I just figured they would keep the streak going with Asuka. But now the burden of the streak is off of Asuka. Maybe she can progress forward and maybe get a little bit more character development. I mean, it's really hard to develop her character beyond what it is right now with her limited English speaking skills. So I don't know if the lack of streak is going to help her or hurt her with connecting with the crowd from here on out. But I'm very intrigued on where it goes from here. Then we get to the United States Championship match between Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, Jinder Mahal, and Rusev. Upset, I was hoping that they would put it on Rusev. I thought maybe they might put it on either Jinder or Bobby Roode, but I was hoping for Rusev. But Jinder won, and he won clean. He reversed an Accolade attempt into the Colossus. Was pointed out last night because it was myself, Junior, the Wife of Doom, Big Shez, and Uppercut were watching, and I think I'm not quite sure who said it, but that was like the first time the Colossus actually looked like a finisher, because he just doesn't hit it right most of the time. And so Jinder Mahal is your foreign heel with the United States Championship. Let's see if he can be as successful as Kevin Owens was with that gimmick. I'm not thinking it's going to happen. So now you get to what probably in the weeks and months after WrestleMania, at least for me, I'll look back at as the match of the night. And that was Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie. Long motorcycle entrance with Triple H and Stephanie. It was neat, but it took forever. And then the match, I thought they were going to try to protect Ronda. Turns out that they were more or less trying to protect Kurt for most of the match, because Kurt looked very stiff. I don't mean stiff in a wrestling sense. I mean stiff in a just beaten up, the body's like the mind is willing, but the body isn't necessarily. He looked good, but he looked slow. But Ronda, oh my goodness, did Ronda Rousey exceed expectations for her debut match. I do have issues, like a lot of people did, with how many of the armbar or submission holds that Steph was able to counter. You had some nice intergender back and forth between them, especially with Ronda and Triple H facing off. That was kind of neat. And finally, Ronda gets Stephanie to tap with the armbar, and it was a good match. And the end, I love Ronda knowing that she had it, and just holding off and watching the look of horror on Steph's face. They both did really well in that ending sequence. But yeah, it was probably the most fun match of the night. Which brings us to the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match between the Usos, the New Day, and the Bludgeon Brothers. Bludgeon Brothers win, as I was hoping and predicted. Not as much pop as I really wanted out of these guys, because, maybe I'm just living back to the 2 out of 3 falls between the Wyatt family and the Usos from, a couple years ago. But I just expected more. It was still a fun match. There was nothing wrong with it, but it didn't, nothing stood out, really, other than the fact that the Bludgeon Brothers won. Now, taking away from a little bit, not as much as it could have, from the ending of the Charlotte-Asuka match, you had the John Cena was in the crowd since the pre-show, which is good for him, chilling out with the fans and getting paid. And then referee came down and said something to him about the Undertaker being there or whatever, and he went running up the ramp. And the bemused look on Asuka's face when that happened was actually worth it, interrupting their end of match celebration. So then he comes out, and referee said, no, I don't know where Undertaker is, and Elias comes out. A little bit of, you were expecting someone else to go with that. It was entertaining for what it was. It was nice to see Elias get on the show. He got some really, really good heat. That was kind of cool. And Cena kind of squashed him in just a confrontation. And then the lights went out as Cena was walking up the ramp, and Undertaker's ring gear was in the ring like it was at the end of last year's WrestleMania. And then the Undertaker came out and took one bump. It was 2.5 minutes long, squashed Cena. And it was great. I loved it. I mean, it wasn't like a high point from in-ring, but it was a neat little segment. It was kind of nice to see, Cena said a whole bunch of stuff and then just got his ass beat. So that was kind of neat. I mean, for what ended up being probably like a close to a 10-minute segment with the build up and the Elias stuff, and Undertaker coming out to the ring very slowly as he always does. Undertaker looked pretty good, by the way. He looked more nimble and faster and quicker. He did old school. He got all of his signatures in, and except for the last ride, basically, and that was the end of it. The best part of the match was Cena was going for the 5-knuckle shuffle, and Undertaker stood up, and Cena stopped, slid, and fell down. It was pretty funny, but yeah, that was it was fun. Now I know I'm flying through some of these matches, and I'm not getting real in depth because there are days I don't even want to hear myself talk. So, but this one deserves some time, and that was the tag match between Shane McMahon and the returning Daniel Bryan against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn lost, they would stay fired from SmackDown. They were saying throughout the show just fired, but leading up to it, they kept specifying from SmackDown, which is why I picked Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon to win, which they did, because I figured Owens and Zayn are going to Raw. A little disappointed in how much Daniel Bryan was not in the match, but I kind of get what they were going for. But seeing a beaten up, older Shane McMahon hold his own against two of the best guys in the company, basically 2-on-1 after the beginning of the match where they attacked from behind, and Daniel Bryan was they were looking at stretchering him off for the first 10 minutes of the match. But it was all to build up to the hot tag. Daniel Bryan got in and didn't look like he's missed a step. He looked a little smaller this time around. He looked thinner. And he didn't look as muscular. I mean, he was never a big muscular dude, but he looked a little more stronger last time. But so he looked a little smaller, but he was just as fast. And the bit where he did the missile drop kick off the top rope and laid there for a second, and you're like, okay. And then he did a kip up, so kind of FUing the whole concussion protocol thing. Ends up making Sami Zayn tap with the S-lock after he'd done the running knee. Hey, I was just, I don't care how that match would have ended, but as long as Daniel Bryan didn't take the pin, I'm just so happy Daniel Bryan's back. And it opens up some storylines, or they lingered on them a little bit after the match on Bryan and McMahon. I thought maybe one of them was going to turn on the other, but we'll see where that story goes. And now we get to the portion of the show where the crowd started to get tired and possibly preemptively grumpy because we all knew which match was probably going on last. But the next match was Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. And Nia Jax is your new Raw Women's Champion. Congratulations. Happy for her. I know Junior is not. No Carmella cash in on either of the women's matches like a lot of us were expecting. Whatever. She's got till Monday. She's got to June or something to do it. So I'm sure they'll drag it out a little longer. The match was okay. Match was fine. Went a little longer than it probably should have. Although Alexa getting in as much offense as she did, because Alexa doesn't always get a lot of offense in. A lot of time it's her backtracking and being defensive until she finds an opportunity. This time, they were back and forth taking the fight to each other. Obviously, Nia Jax taking the fight more to Alexa Bliss, as logic would dictate. She completely obliterated Mickie James before the bell rang. That was great. But yeah, Nia Jax gets her with the, I guess it was Samoan drop off the top rope. Yeah, that was the end of that. But yeah, it was fine. I have no complaints about the match except for its length. But yeah, no. And then probably the most disappointing match of the night, which was for the World Heavyweight Championship between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, disappointing not because of anything in ring. They were fine. I mean, it wasn't, their New Japan match just translated over. No, it was good. They told a story. It was fine. Crowd was dead because the crowd was tired and silent for most of this match. And, AJ counters Did he counter Kinshasa, or he countered something into the Styles Clash. I mean, I'm so fried from last night, so I can't remember everything. And got the pin, and that was the end of that. I mean, there were a lot of calf crusher, a lot of teasing back and forth, a lot of the stuff you've seen them do to each other over the last few weeks. Phenomenal forearms and the exploder suplex. Everything was there. And then after the match, Shinsuke takes the belt, goes to hand it to AJ. We went down on one knee, and then here comes the low blow. And we now have a heel Shinsuke Nakamura, which I am hoping will make his character the one that... Because he always kind of had slightly heelish tactics, not like Asuka did in NXT, but he did some, kind of goofy stuff that, was a little borderline, but, just was character stuff that he hasn't been doing up on the main roster. I think that's one of the reasons why he's been kind of flat since he got called up. Hopefully this fixes that. Because heel Shinsuke, because everybody's waiting for the New Japan Shinsuke. And I think you're going to get a lot closer to that now. Meanwhile, AJ retains. I'm okay with it. I called for him to retain. Not sure where he goes from here. I'm sure he's going to wrestle Shinsuke some more because they've got unfinished business now. But beyond that, whether they eventually pull the trigger on putting the belt on Shinsuke at Backlash or at the greatest Royal Rumble or whatever, something upcoming soon, that it's fine. They could feud all summer. You could take this all the way up to SummerSlam, and I'd be happy. Because if you actually give them a chance to, within their characters, work the way they want to work with each other, it's going to be great. Then we get to the weirdest in-ring segment, which was the Bar versus Braun Strowman and question mark for the Raw Tag Team Championship. And yeah, Braun went into the crowd and picked out an 11-year-old kid or something, I think he was, named Nicholas, who is the son of one of the refs, I think. He's the son of somebody who works backstage or works for the company. So he was a plant. So, but yeah, But the best part of that entire thing was the look on Sheamus and Cesaro's face while this was unfolding. Priceless. Those two guys should get, title pushes, single title pushes just based on that acting. And then there was a bit where Nicholas got got in, and then Cesaro looked like he was about ready to kill the kid, and then he just immediately tagged out. So that was kind of funny. Braun wins. Now Braun Strowman, who is one of your top singles baby faces, is now Raw Tag Team Champion with an 11-year-old kid named Nicholas, who didn't even sign a waiver ahead of time that we saw. I mean, come on, it's got to be a little bit realistic. Should have had him sign something. But the Wikipedia page is great. If you look up the Wikipedia page for the Raw Tag Team Championship, it's funny. But other than that, it was a waste of Braun Strowman. It was a waste of a segment. I realized they were trying to give the crowd a chance to cool off before the main event, but yeah, it was definitely a thumbs down overall. Took the belt off the Bar, made Braun Strowman a kid-friendly comedy act. Even for one night or two with tonight, it still was not worth it. And then we get to the main event, which is the Universal Championship match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And after, a handful of suplexes, 6 F5s, one of which was through a table, 5 of which were kicked out of, 2 spears, a bunch of Superman punches. Actually, I think it was more than 2 spears, but Brock Lesnar pins Roman Reigns after busting him open a la Randy Orton at SummerSlam. And yeah, nobody saw that coming. Everybody assumed that Brock was leaving. I'm included. We all assumed that the board was unanimous picking Reigns, and we all lost that point. And I know they're having a rematch after or at the greatest Royal Rumble ever. They're getting a rematch. Not quite sure exactly what Reigns did to warrant a rematch, but there you go. So yeah, Brock retains. And apparently he signed a new 1 or 2 year deal or something today. It was announced. So yeah, the benefit of doing this video much later than I usually do is that all of the fallout has already been posted leading up to the Raw after WrestleMania. And yeah, the crowd hated this match. They were booing "This is awful." There was CM Punk chant, which I called that. I was like, which match are we going to first hear the CM Punk chant? The crowd, to their credit, as far as I could tell, waited until the main event. But yeah, it was not, the match was what you would expect out of those two. Wasn't overly exciting. I think the idea is that Reigns loses might get sympathy from the fans. Vince is trying to actually retroactively build him the way he should have. It might be too late, but hey, never too late to try, at least. So, yeah, that was, WrestleMania kind of ended on a thud, thanks to the fans who, not blaming them, but they were tired, they were spent. It was a 7-hour show overall. The thing went till midnight. So the main card was 5 hours long. I mean, that is just way too much, especially a lot of these guys either were at or probably watched TakeOver the night before. So it's just a lot of wrestling for one weekend. And when WrestleMania goes an hour longer than it was supposed to, or historically does, your crowd's going to be tired. Okay, so the final standings, and still Board of Doom Challenge champion, Big Papa Grump, 85 points. Wife of Doom finishes second with 84 points. And Uppercut finishes third with 81 points. It was basically down because Big Shez finished fourth overall with 79 points. Keep in mind, he missed the pay-per-view. CJ Truth was 74, Junior was 72, Golden Boy was 71, and Little Doom Doom was 60. So, and she guesses primarily based on whether or not she's heard of the person that I'm asking her, hey, who do you think is going to win between these two? It's kind of hilarious if you ever see us do it, which none of you probably will. So, just for the event, CJ Truth and Big Shez tied with 7, which, by the way, is like 500. Like, we had a terrible night predicting. Uppercut with 6, Little Doom Doom with 5. Well, me and Little Doom Doom with 5. Still. Just love the fact that she actually had a respectable showing, like all things being relative. Wife of Doom and Golden Boy were 4 points each, and Junior, unfortunately, Junior only got 3 right. He got AJ, Ronda Rousey, and Kurt Angle, and Cedric Alexander. I was trying to decipher my own shorthand. But yeah, we all pretty much crapped the bed, and yeah, was not good night, prediction-wise. But your winner. It came down to the Cena Undertaker match because the wife of Doom and I pretty much had picked almost identical. Only she picked Cena, I picked Taker, and that was the difference between us for last night. Uppercut was in it to overtake us until about halfway through the show, and he had picked a lot of the same ones we did, and I think he could only lose one that we had picked differently, and he lost that one, and then it was over. So, yeah, there we go. For absolutely no prize whatsoever. And that is, I know I said it in the last video, but it was kind of like a two-part thing. That was the season finale of The Board of Doom. It's technically the season 4 finale, but as far as YouTube goes, the first season finale. But yeah, so I have now won 3 years in a row after Junior won the very, very first year. So, yeah, you know what? Let's talk about the Board of Doom for just a second. I've probably said it before, but just to recap, we started this. It was myself, Wife of Doom, Junior, and Big Shez, and a couple of people who aren't around or involved. Just were picking pay-per-views, and we kind of kept track of who won the pay-per-view, but not numbers. Until Golden Boy came up with the idea, hey, why don't we do a bragging rights thing and kind of make it a season, kind of go with the WWE season. And that's what we always did. We always went WrestleMania as the beginning of the season, but we changed it last year to make it the finale because it makes sense. WWE season technically goes from the Raw after WrestleMania to WrestleMania. So we just decided to fall in line with that. And yeah, so this is the CJ Truth popped on in season 2. Golden Boy and CJ Truth popped on in season 2. Uppercut joined for this season. That we're going to be probably gaining a member that had that was with us through seasons 2 and 3, but had fallen off and wasn't participating this season. So we'll see. I'm not going to announce names because he hasn't picked a Twitter handle yet that I know of. So yeah, but that was WrestleMania. That was the season. That was everything. Thank you for watching. I've been Big Papa Grump, and I'll catch you next time.